Hey guys, so it really takes a lot for me to totally be in love with the show, especially a show that has been on for 3 seasons. But Ozark is definitely one of my favorite shows that I have ever seen my entire life. So let me start off by saying that if you have not watched the show at all, this chat will be full of spoilers because big things go down on this show, like pretty much every episode. So I know I've told a lot of you guys to watch Ozark, a lot of you guys who watch me and discuss other shows with me. So if you haven't seen it, I would just recommend that you come back to watch this because I don't want to spoil anyone because the show is really like that amazing. I could talk about it forever. I just get really happy when I talk about it to other people in real life because it's just so, so good. I know this show has been out there for a while. Hi, Chase. Thank you so much for being here. And I think some of you guys had asked me to watch and just like the title of it. And then I knew it was like kind of about drugs and stuff like that. And I watched Breaking Bad. I was a fan of that show, and I didn't love it like a lot of people do. So I thought this was kind of going to be like another Breaking Bad, and I was not really feeling the fact that I had an idea of what this was going to be in my mind, and like I never explored it. I never watched it for myself, and people were recommending it. So it basically took the quarantine. Hi, Diva. Thank you so much for being here. If you're in the room, go ahead and say hey. I'll give you a shout out. It basically took the quarantine and being like desperate to find new shows. And then I think like season 3 came out like in March. And so there was a huge buzz around the show again. And people were all over Twitter, and people in my real life were like, oh my God, you have to watch Ozark. It's like so good. And even at that point, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this, but I was really bored and I was like, I'm going to try it out, and if I don't like it, it's no big deal. I don't have to like watch it anymore. So I watched the first episode, and literally the first episode of season 1, people were getting murdered in crazy ways. Huge things were going down. And when I say people, like several people, as you guys know, and, like when they pushed the dude out of the window at the like condo or whatever he lived in, Chase says you're throughout your back, so this chat is helping. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Hopefully you have some medication to help you with that because that sounds awful. But anyway, when they pushed out the guy she was having an affair with, like out of the window of the condo, I was like, oh wow, this show is going big. Because if you guys have watched me cover other shows before, I like when shows go big. I like when they kill people off. I like when they kill people off in shocking ways. So when they killed off the drug lord in season 1, that was so super shocking when Darlene shot him and killed him and like blew his head off. I thought that was fabulous, and I had no idea that was going to happen. That was such a quick like murder scene. Absolutely love that. There's just so much to talk about with this show because it's like so, so good. So I'm just going to try to get through like some of my favorite moments within the show. But first I want to talk about season 4, which I've been watching interviews with Jason Bateman recently. And as of now, Netflix has not renewed it for season 4, but I feel pretty confident that they will. Also, if you didn't realize, this show is filmed in Atlanta, not in the actual Ozarks. So there's a lot of different issues surrounding when season 4 could be filmed because obviously we're in a pandemic, and I don't know when shows are going to resume filming or when movies are going to resume filming. So first of all, it's going to have to be renewed, and then secondly, they will have to get to the point where everyone feels comfortable and safe to start filming it in Georgia. Also, something interesting that Jason Bateman has said in interviews is that Ozark was never intended to be a show that just went on for like years and years and years. And basically, he saw it going for like 4 or 5 seasons, which I do get that. But at the same time, like it makes me sad because I am already having like withdrawals, and I just like found the show, so I binged all 3 seasons like in April and this month. So I already like dying for like season 4, and I know I'm gonna have to wait a really long time. So to know that it's really not gonna be around that much longer makes me super duper sad. So so anyway, I thought every season has been really good. And the weird thing is that usually in these types of shows where it's like a crime drama and like a murder show and stuff like that, there's always things that kind of I feel like are weak, or like as seasons go on, it's just not as good as the first season. But I really don't have any criticisms at all of this show. Like I just think it's so fabulous that I have no like bad things to say about it. So in season 1, I don't know why I can't think of the guy's name, but the guy who played who was with the drug cartel is also one of the main characters from the show How to Get Away with Murder. So it was cool to see him in another role. I think he did like such a great job in this role on Ozark because he was like just really calm, cool, and collected, but he was like to the core evil. And I think he did his I think he was a great casting choice for that role. I thought he was amazing. Darlene and Jacob are just crazy. I definitely thought they were some of the most evil characters on the show. I think in season 2, she actually killed Jacob, which was pretty freaking crazy. So to me, she's crazier than he was. But there's just a lot of, like in season 3, I feel like she's almost like comedy. You know, I think she's funny, but she's also like super dangerous and you just never know what she's going to do. Probably my favorite character on the show is Ruth. I just love the different ways her character has evolved throughout the seasons. Kind of concerned about her now because at the end of season 3, she was going to work with Wyatt and Darlene in the heroin business. So I'm really worried about her, especially after losing Ben and being on the outs with the Birds. But gosh, so much crazy stuff has happened, from the insane minister, from the murder of his pregnant wife, and I guess like Darlene cut her baby out of her. Now Darlene's raising that baby. That was so freaking insane. Diva says she knew that Darlene was going to kill her husband. Yeah, she is just to the core evil. Her relationship with Wyatt, I'm kind of skipping all over the seasons, but I assume everyone's seen all the seasons. But her relationship with Wyatt makes me laugh and also makes me cringe. And like, I knew when they started hanging out that it wasn't like a mother-son relationship. Like, I knew like she wanted to sleep with him and everything, and I felt like that's where we were going, and that is definitely where we were going. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't believe they included that in the show, and they actually had a sex scene with them in the show, and it's just like, it's like way too much. Megan didn't like Ruth at first, but you love her now. You hope she doesn't turn on the Birds. So I kind of feel the same way because she has such a sassy attitude and she's really, really rude to most people. But I think what was a turning point for me, and maybe it was for you guys, was to see her softer side with Ben, and also to see her softer side with the way that she had been abused her whole life with her dad. Like when her dad was let out of prison, and he was just constantly making the wrong choices. Like they went to a store and he was going to go in and get her a Coke, but he was free. He robbed them, like she just couldn't count on him. I have like a hair or something in my nose. Anyway, she just couldn't count on him for anything. And it just kind of explains, why she kind of went down the path that she did and why she felt like she had to go for a life of crime. Hi T, thank you so much for being here. Actually, I just decided, I was doing a chat about Insecure, and I think Diva asked me if I was going to do an Ozark chat, and I was like, yeah, I need to do that. But I can't stop scratching my nose because of the, never mind. I was going to say because of the heroin from Darlene and Jacob, but I'm just totally joking. So Diva is asking if I think Ben is really dead because they didn't show him dying. Okay, you know what? I had actually never thought about that. Speaking of Ben, I loved his character, and I thought the guy who played him was fabulous, and like I feel like he deserves an award. I know that the girl who plays Ruth, I think her name was Julia, she got an Emmy, and I think she is fabulous as well. I actually follow the guy who plays Ben on Twitter, and his name is escaping me. I think it's Timothy. But anyway, I never thought about the fact that he could be alive. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that is not a bad thought. I was going to say, like, I don't think Frank would spare his life, but maybe he worked out some sort of deal with Wendy or something. I don't know. I mean, then again, I really think she thinks he's dead because she definitely had like a breakdown by herself in the car on the way home, and there would be no need to like fake that because no one was with her. So I think that's super interesting. But I hated to lose Ben, but like I knew we were going to lose him because he was just so sick mentally. I think the last episode that he was in where he got picked up by the cab driver from the like mental institution, he just killed it as far as acting. Basically he like got in the car, and I guess like the cab driver might have said like, how's your day going? Or how are you doing? I don't know if he did or not, but he just went into that ranting monologue that like just like lasted forever, and it just really cracked me up. But I knew when he went to Helen's house and like exposed her to her daughter, I was like, okay, so he's dead. Like there's no way. And I actually felt like he wasn't going to make it out of the season anyway, just because sometimes he would just go off the rails and just act crazy. I thought the beginning of season 3 was pretty freaking hilarious, where he was a substitute and like I guess that girl was being bullied like on social media or whatever, and he threw like all their phones in the leaf compactor or whatever that is. That was so funny, but obviously not, you can't do that. Like, it's just like he's very impulsive and he just goes psycho, you know? T says there's a huge debate on whether he's dead or not. You think he's done. I don't know why that had never crossed my mind, and I guess that's one of the reasons I'm here doing this chat, because I never questioned that he wasn't dead, because I felt like he just had to die. I felt that was so, so sad that she, like, I don't think she intended for him to die when they were driving to Tennessee, but it was like he just couldn't stop his bad behavior. Like, they went to the gas station and he had to buy another burner phone, you know, and he, before that, he had called Helen to like apologize, and he was just causing himself like so much problems and putting himself in danger. So I would love it if they came back around and said that he lived, but you know, I just don't think we can trust him to go somewhere and disappear and never reach out to the birds or never reach out to Ruth. So I think that if he was actually alive, it just wouldn't really make sense, because he's just somebody that you can't trust to not try to make contact with all the people he cares about. And then once they realized that he was alive, he would be dead again anyway. So that's just kind of what I was thinking. So obviously the end of season 3 was huge, and I knew from like people who talked on social media and stuff that there was a big surprise. So I wasn't spoiled, but I knew to expect something. So when Helen was murdered, that was super cool, though I still loved it. I didn't find it as shocking as when the guy in season 1 with the cartel was murdered, but maybe it was because I literally had no clue that was coming, but I knew something was supposed to happen at the end of season 3, and you know, we were like in the final minutes, and I was like, okay, something big is going to happen here now that they're in Mexico. But something I wanted to ask you guys about, and I actually kind of was thinking that their son, the bird's son, was going to kill Helen because he had the chance at her house, and I thought that would have been really, really huge if they had gone that way with the show, which they didn't. But then, like, I'm concerned about him, and I know there was some concern with like his mental state and what he would grow up to be like earlier in the show, because his mom was like, you know, my brother has some mental issues and I'm worried about him because he was like disemboweling the animals and stuff. So at the end of season 3, we saw him like shoot out the window of their house, and he just kind of seems to be going off the rails, because now he knows that like his mom was the reason that Ben was murdered, and he's just finding out that his parents were really bad people. So do you know like what was the point of him shooting out the window? Was it just because he was like acting out because he was angry, or was there something else involved with that? And where do you think like his character is going to go in the future? Both him and his sister are getting older now in the series, and you know, to the point that depending on when like they film season 4, they could be old enough to like be a part of their parents' business if they want to be. Like, I feel like they could make both of them jump up in age, you know. I think she's, you know, probably almost 18 and he's like 16 or something in season 3. So if they want to start this like a year or two later, I don't know exactly what they're planning for a season 4, especially knowing that everything's kind of weird right now and there's going to be a delay because of the pandemic. But what were some of your guys' favorite moments of this 3 seasons, and who are your like favorite villains and favorite characters and everything? I would love to hear. Like, I could literally talk about this forever. And what was your favorite season? Chase says to him, the son like shooting out the window means that he means business. And so I don't know which way they're going to go with him. Like, he's so smart and he already has like those offshore accounts and everything. And he's almost like a little version of his dad. But, you know, I wonder if he's going to want to be a part of this crime life, or if he's going to want to have a better life for himself and like get away from this kind of stuff. So we have a lot of like open endings at the end of season 3, because now we have Darlene and Wyatt and Ruth working with the Kansas City mob. So we have that set of villains. We also have the birds being basically the top villains that we know of involved in the Mexican cartel, Navarro. So we're going to have those 2 groups at odds. Then we have the son and daughter, which I'm not sure which way they're going to go. Megan says, you're thinking that the son saw someone in the house, but you don't know who that would be, but that was your thought. So that's something I didn't consider, but maybe so. Like, was he shooting at someone who was like in the backyard or something? Yeah, Chase is saying a lot of the CW shows won't air till 2021. So basically, yeah, I mean, I have no clue when a season 4 is going to come out. It could be late 2021. It could be after that. I don't know. Like, basically, so much stuff is up in the air with all kinds of shows and movies, because if they're not able to film them now and time just keeps going where they can't film them, it's a huge production just to film them and then edit everything and get it ready for release. So I don't know when like a season 4 is going to come out, but whatever. I can't wait till it does. Like, I can wait. I will wait. Like, I'm waiting and I'm super excited. I know like so many people told me that they thought season 3 was the best season, and that's hard for me because I don't know. I really liked all 3 seasons. It's really hard for me to say which one is the best. I think Ben really would be the difference maker for me to say, like, I like season 3 the best because I think his character was just so excellent. And of course, the ending with the murder of Helen I thought was very strong for season 3. Um, the How to Get Away with Murder Chase's acting. Are you wondering about watching the show? The show's okay, but it's nothing like this. But the last season was kind of disappointing and the finale was just average. But to me, Ozark is just so good. Like, it's just one of the best shows. Like, seriously, I've watched a ton of shows, and this is my type of genre. I mean, not necessarily like a drug show, but it's really so much more than that because it's like murders and, trying to figure out who you can trust and everything. It's not so much like a bad guy, like murdering people, like we know who the bad guys are, but just the fact that they're able to get in so many surprises and shocking things. That's what really gets me. Like, I love when shows shock you and go big with killing people and kill a lot of the people off, and you like literally I feel like they would kill anyone off on this show. And I feel like as the show progresses and like starts to wind down to a finale for the whole series, I feel like a bunch of people I really think a bunch of people are going to get killed in this show, which is cool. I'm like all about that. I don't like it when I'm watching a show of this type and they're afraid to kill people and they only kill like the random actors who show up for like one season. It's just so stupid. Yeah, there's murders all the time. From season 1, episode 1, there are murders, unique murders, big murders, shocking murders, surprising murders, killing people in the cast. You just never know, and I love when a show is like bold like that and is willing to just do whatever and just be really out there, and it has been since episode 1. So now I'm like obsessed with telling everyone like they need to watch it, especially if you are a fan of my channel and you like a lot of the same shows that I like. I just feel I guarantee that you're gonna like it. I've never talked to anyone who watched it and quit watching it or didn't like it. The only thing I've ever seen people complain about, and this was like on Facebook, I've seen some people say it was like too dark and too many murders or whatever. And I don't feel that way, but I guess I have more of a tolerance for that kind of stuff than a lot of people. But the only thing for me that was hard to watch was the scene where the drug cartel people were like pulling off the toenails of Marty. Like, I did have to turn away from that. I don't like to watch like body mutilation. I mean, maybe some of you do, I don't know, but I don't like watching that. Like, that really bothered me, so I just turned away, but it wasn't that big of a deal. So anyway, what were some of your favorite moments, or what is your favorite season? Who are your favorite characters? And I realized this was kind of a last minute chat, so I didn't really advertise it. I just decided today was going to be the day that I did this, so I assume more people are going to be watching this like after it was live. And if that is what's happening with you right now, just leave me a comment because I really do want to see what everyone thinks about it and like talk in depth with people, and I'll definitely go back and comment to your comments. I'll reply to your comment. There we go. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that it hasn't been renewed yet for season 4 because why not, Even just being renewed doesn't mean they have to start filming it, but I've been waiting to find that information out, which reminds me, I should really follow I was afraid to follow Ozark on Twitter just because I didn't want to see any spoilers, but now that I finished it, I will do that so that I will know like when it's been renewed and all of that stuff. I'm just trying to think of some other. I really found it funny. The therapist who wasn't really a therapist. I thought there were some great lines within her storyline. When she went and bought the McLaren and Marty called it a transformer, and then he was like, why don't you just get in your toy and leave? I thought that was so funny. Like, unfortunately she had to die. I felt bad. I think they kind of felt bad about it, but she was just getting super greedy. Like, he gave her $100,000, but then she was trying to negotiate with Helen like, oh, I think I'm gonna need more money. So it was just bad for her. She was just really bad. T says you love Ruth quotes. Yeah, Ruth, she's awesome. I love the way she talks and everything. She's just so funny and sassy. And if you ever watch an interview with the actress who plays her. Her first name is Julia. Can't think of her last name. She's actually from New York, and she doesn't talk like Ruth at all. So she just does such a great job playing that role. Megan says when they dropped off the headless bodies in front of the driveway, yeah, I think that was the beginning of season 3, and maybe that was what caused some people some issues with season 3, or they felt weird about watching the rest of it, but whatever. I kept watching, but that was pretty disgusting, you know. They also showed the headless guy that got murdered, the drug cartel boss or whatever, henchman or whatever he was, one of the top people in the drug cartel from season 1. They literally showed his body without a head after Darlene blew his head off, so that was pretty gross too. But still, for me, the toenail scene was the hardest thing to watch and the only thing I've had to turn away from in the show, but I'm not mad at them. Like, whatever. Keep it coming. Like, I just really, really like it. But yeah, and I guess what makes this show, I think, if I had to answer, like, what makes the show so good, like, they just have wonderful characters, but the fact that they're able to pull off such shocking death scenes and then shocking plot twists, I think they do that really, really well. Because having people trying to launder money and all of that, like, when I heard the synopsis of the show, especially, like, it was taking place, like, in a, I don't know how to say this, like, country, like, redneck place, you know, in the U.S. Julia Garner, thank you. And people laundering money, dealing with drugs. I was kind of like, that doesn't sound super good to me. I'm sorry, it doesn't really sound that good, but I'm so glad that I gave it a chance. But also what made me wanted to watch is the fact that Laura Linney and Jason Bateman are in it, and they're huge actors, and I didn't really think they would be in anything that was just, you know, kind of average or whatever. I think he's like the director too. So I felt like it would be pretty quality, and then everyone loved it. And basically everyone, I feel like if you hadn't seen it, so many people have discovered it during like quarantine. It seems like everyone has seen it, but I know there's people who haven't. T says you hate that Darlene got the baby. Yeah, so that whole situation is so messed up. I mean, everything they did to that preacher was terrible. Everything. Murdering his wife, absolutely despicable. Cutting the baby out of her, awful. Like, that woman didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve that. And then, you know, he ended up going completely crazy, and he had to be murdered by Marty, so it was just a big, huge mess, and the Birds had the baby for a while, and now they had to give it to Darlene, and she's so psycho. She's going to raise him up as, like, a criminal, and it's just really sad. This is such a sad, like, tragic situation. Everything that happened with his parents, and now the kid is going to have a bad life too. It's just really sad. So hopefully at some point, like, the Birds will get custody of him, or something better will happen for that little boy, because it's just really bad. Megan says, you really thought Mason was drowning his son. Okay, so Mason is the preacher. That was another huge scene. That comes at the end of season 2, I believe. I think he was trying to drown his son. Now, I will say that, like, I really think he was at first, but then when he, like, brought him up the last second, he was in his mind baptizing him. That scene was disturbing to me, because I was, like, literally yelling at my TV saying, are they going to murder a baby on this show? Because to me, that is actually something I don't think I've ever seen, like, an outright murder of a baby on a TV show, and that was going to be almost too big. Like, I want him to go big and do crazy, shocking things, but I was going to be like, what, are we really going here? I mean, I definitely had sort of this similar reaction when I was thinking, are we really going here with Wyatt and Darlene having some sexual relationship, because that's disgusting. But the baby murder is bigger than that, if that is what had happened. And the scene lasted for so long. He had him underwater for so long. Honestly, I don't really think in real life that baby would still be alive if that had actually happened. But I was like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, there's like pushing the envelope, but this was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, as much as I like for shows like this to go crazy, that scene, if they had gone through with the murder, would have been, to me, I think, crossing the line. And it takes a lot for me to say that, because shows are crazy now, and lots of crazy stuff happens on shows, but that was a lot. Hi, Doja. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, so I feel like with all of the tragic shows or tragic storylines that people have in this show, I really feel like Mason's family storyline is the most tragic. And I mean, that's saying a lot because there's so many like messed up characters. Pretty much every person on the show is like very disturbed and very messed up and has a bad life or had a bad life growing up or whatever. And it's just really bad. I still don't understand how Ruth is going to deal with Ben's death because she was like in love with him and everything. She almost didn't seem angry enough to me. Like, I expected her to throw like a freaking fit because she knows that like Wendy is behind this and everything. I just can't believe she went absolutely crazy. Doja watched Ozark because I recommended it. So have you watched all 3 seasons? And hopefully you liked it because I love it so much. And it's funny because I've talked about it so much like on Twitter and when I'm talking about other shows, it's almost like they're like telling me to promote it, but seriously, no one has told me to promote it. I'm doing this out of the goodness of my own heart to help you because I love it so much. Chase says even Michael Myers doesn't kill babies. Yeah, I really don't think I've seen, obviously, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's probably been some shows that have where a baby has died or whatever, but as far as showing it and everything, I don't think I have seen that on any show. Have you guys? I really don't. And that was just, it was just going to be too much for me. But anyway, anything else that we need to talk about? I mean, literally, we could talk about this forever, but because we're talking about all 3 seasons here. So is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't brought up, or just anything in general you want to talk about with the show? But oh my God, it's really making me happy. Like, I need more of it. I'm so happy that I decided to watch this, and I'm so glad how amazing it is, and the fact that there's still more to come. It just really makes my life right now, and maybe I have like not much going on because of quarantine and everything, so stuff like this is more important than it normally would be. But yeah, I just think it's so good, and I think the acting is just like 5 stars. I just think it's great. I love it so much. But anyway, if you're watching this after this has been live, please comment because I know a lot of you did not get any kind of heads up about this, and I really do apologize for that. But I definitely wanted to do this chat, so I'm sorry. I really am sorry. At the same time, it's like I really need to talk about this, especially since I finished this like a couple weeks ago and everything's like fresh on my mind about the show. So I really wanted to talk to you guys about it. So please leave comments, and I will reply to your comments. Because I love talking about Ozark because it's just so, 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 so good. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing great and are staying healthy. I know quarantine is lifting in a lot of places. I live in Kentucky in the United States, and things are starting to get back to normal, like starting Friday. More things are opening. Next week, a lot of things are slowly opening, but not like it was before, obviously, with restrictions and everything. So, and I know some people are choosing not to go out or do anything even when things are reopening, and that's like everyone's personal choice. So, but I hope everyone has been healthy through all of this and continues to stay healthy, because we really don't know how life is going to be impacted by like COVID-19. I mean, probably for a long, long, long time now. But anyway, thank you for coming to my chat. It was very fun to share my love of Ozark with other people who love this show as well. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.